there's always going to be a bit of you that you can't bring because like nobody's going to relate to at all, or like very few people relate to. You might as well just leave it at home and like keep it safe there.
Hi everyone, welcome to the 10,000 Interns Foundation podcast. This is a 6-part series that marks the amazing work that the foundation has done over the last 5 years, but especially it's all about them creating 10,000 paid internship opportunities across 35 sectors in the UK for Black students and graduates. So for this particular episode, we're going to be speaking with a couple of interns who know exactly what it's like to go through that process and to come out on the other side. So I'm very happy to have in the studio with me today. We have Nefo and we have Sarah. Hello, ladies.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you guys doing?
Awesome.
I'm good, yeah.
Nefo, you just came down especially for the day because you're already starting at uni.
Yeah.
How are you preparing for third year? What are your thoughts around starting third year?
It just doesn't feel real. Like, I feel like I just got into first year like 10 seconds ago and suddenly I'm writing finalists when I'm doing applications for my modules. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But I'm happy.
Yeah.
I feel like it's time.
Yeah, time really does fly at university. You wake up and all of a sudden you're in your position and you've got to start thinking about what comes after uni. But before we kind of delve into the conversation, why don't you both give the listeners a little bit of a, I guess, intro into who you are. So Sarah, let's start with you. So why don't you just say your name, where you're from, what university you went to and what you studied?
Yes, so my name is Sarah. I just recently graduated. I studied international relations from LSE and I'm from North London.
Lovely. And Nefo?
My name's Nefo. I'm currently studying English literature at the University of Warwick and I'm from South East London.
Wow. So
the best side.
The best side. So going back to like your degrees at university, did you guys always know that that's what you wanted to study? Sarah?
Yes, for me, like I'm Nigerian and I feel like lots of us get the doctor, lawyer, engineer triad of like what you have to do. And I knew that I just couldn't go into STEM. I didn't enjoy it. I loved politics. I loved that macro lens of looking at the world. So I studied all social sciences at A-level, psychology, sociology and politics. And then I was like, oh, the UK political system is a bit, not boring, but I kind of like the international aspect.
Okay.
Then I was like, okay, I'm studying international relations. I need to impress my parents. Okay, where's the best place to study it? It was like St. Andrews at the time, LSE. And I was like, okay, London, LSE, let's go. So
okay.
Yeah.
So you had a kind of a strategy then around kind of how you wanted to navigate around that space and get to that degree.
Yeah.
What about you, Nefo? Did you know you always wanted to do English?
I was a bit messier, but kind of following on a similar structure because I'm also Nigerian, so same doctor, lawyer, engineer thing. I almost got convinced into doing law, but I knew deep down I really didn't want to do that.
Okay.
I was going to study history, but then after GCSE, I was just like, I don't want to do this in a school setting.
Yeah.
And I really liked English. I was really good at it. And so I wanted to study it. Warwick, being honest, the campus was cute.
Okay. That was the main pull?
I think also because it was top 10 and I did want to go to a good uni. A lot of people were telling me to apply Oxbridge, but I just didn't see myself there. So I was like, I still want to go somewhere quite good.
Yeah.
And then it had a nice campus.
Yeah.
And then I was like,
bonus.
Yeah, perfect.
What was it about Oxbridge that made you think, maybe not?
So I actually looked at the courses, like the course outline on the website, and it just felt like they weren't trying to convince me. Like they were just like, it felt like they had the energy of like, they're going to apply. Like, this is Oxbridge, come on. And it just didn't look interesting. But then on the Warwick website, like they were trying to, like the course looked interesting. Like it sounded fun. And I was like, that just sounds a lot more fun than that. Like it was just like dates on the website, like English literature, this date to this date, and that was just it.
Okay.
So yeah.
Wow. So a question for the both of you. The way that you guys went about applying for an internship through the foundation, was that different to any other kind of application you'd put in before? Or was it relatively similar?
I think I had never really applied for anything like that before, with like interviews and things like that. Actually, no, I have. But I mean in the sense of like with an organization that's saying that they're here to help you kind of thing. And I think 10K was quite personable, like Sarah said, in the way that they structured the process, even in like the marketing and in like how you would see like their social media presence and stuff like that. It felt like, okay, this is something where I actually have a shot at it kind of thing. But if we go back to the whole Oxbridge thing, it just felt like I just didn't even want to get into that, you know? So yeah.
How did you guys even come across the foundation? You mentioned ACS. Was that your way in?
Yeah, ACS, and then people above me that had also taken part in it. Yeah.
Okay. And you?
That's how I found out. People above me saying 10K is really, really good. You should apply for it. You should apply. And then social media as well.
Interesting. Okay. So if you both heard about the foundation through your university networks and communities, what kind of reputation does 10,000 have in those spaces, would you say? How would you describe that reputation?
Can I say like kind of formal language? Well, informal language like S tier, Go tier, like everyone's saying like, no, 10K Black interns is like, you need to sign up. Like you can't be Black and be in LSE or be in like a Russell group or even non-Russell group. And it's like, you didn't take advantage of 10K Black interns.
Yeah.
So even me, like when I'm talking to like the younger people, I'm like, guys, like, please don't like take this as like, don't make this into like a joke. Like this is serious. Like it can change your life, because even like some of the length of some of the internships that you can get, even at 10K Black interns, like 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Lots of other internships is like for spring weeks, they're like one, like maybe a month. So like I really, I'm trying my best to like kind of sort out that generational push that people told me to do it, and also telling the younger people like, no, like really like take it seriously. 'Cause I feel like with a lot of university students, it's not that we don't want opportunities. Some people don't know, and then some people just don't have the time, or they think it takes longer than it actually does. So they kind of need someone to push them. So yes, I would say absolutely goated is like the reputation.
Absolutely goated. Is it the same at Warwick?
Yes, but I think there is also a weird like dynamic at Warwick where some people just feel like, oh, it's not worth applying, when there's all these like, because Warwick is full of, oh, hi LinkedIn, I did 17 spring weeks here and I did 28 internships there and I know everything about corporate already.
Okay, so people don't feel like perhaps they need it.
Yeah. People, and then there's other people who feel like they just can't, like, oh, I'm not going to get it when so-and-so is applying. Okay. So-and-so has 5 spring weeks under their belt or whatever crazy number. They're definitely going to get it and not me. So I think me personally, when I'm talking to people that are coming up, like, you know, from like people who are younger than me, I try to tell them just not to worry about that kind of thing, because a lot of people are just comparing themselves to other people and they're just already psyching themselves out before. But I think 10K has a really, really good reputation in terms of people know it can help. But some people just feel like, so many people know about it now, so many people are more qualified than me. Like, let me just not do that.
I was going to ask about this because I've spoken to a handful of interns and graduates at this point, all of whom are extremely impressive. You're all very hardworking, capable young people. One could argue, right, that there's an aura of like Black excellence around this foundation, right? Especially when you look at the accessibility that they're giving young graduates and students, right? So if somebody perhaps is feeling a little bit like, I'm not sure if I am eligible despite being Black, I don't know if I qualify or if I'm smart enough, how do you deal or how do you navigate with some of those peers perhaps? Or maybe you guys have had those similar thoughts yourselves where people are eligible and they should apply, but maybe they're feeling a little bit hesitant about doing so.
I just tell them to do it because it's like you miss 100% of the chances you don't make.
And one of the other interns actually said that exact same thing.
Yeah, but it's like, it's so true, because even so for me, like all of the experience I've gotten, there was a point where I didn't think I was good enough. Like even I got good A-levels, I was like, oh, I didn't get all A stars, I'm not good enough. And it's like you psych yourself out and you forget that, first of all, you're a Black person who went to university. There's not that many of us who even go to higher education. It's like, at least you're thinking about these things of like, you know that it's not just about your degree, you have to do work. So I always try to encourage people, just do it. Even if you don't get anything, at least you won't like, you know, look back and say, oh, I should have done X, Y, and Z, or I didn't use my time correctly and things like that. So I still try to encourage them, and then also use personal stories of like, for example, like so many other corporates, you have to get like minimum A levels, or like you kind of need to talk about different experiences that you've done. But with 10K Black interns, when you're writing your answers, it's not necessarily about like what experience you have done. It's like why you've chosen that industry, which I think is a quite accessible answer. Like you can say, oh, you watched a YouTuber, or, you know, like you research something, or transferable skills, unlike other internships where they're actually looking at past experience and like what you've done before.
That's super interesting. What about you, Nefo? What do you think?
I think I was someone who was like, they're not going to pick me. And I did apply 1 year and I just didn't hear anything back. And I felt quite down, but I had some people around me who were like, you know, those LinkedIn final boss people.
Yeah.
And they were really, really encouraging actually, because you realize that everyone starts somewhere and everyone starts from that blank slate of nothing. Like you didn't come out the womb with three spring week offers. So it's just a matter of like mindset and just thinking to yourself, okay, there's maybe one slot open for this role, but there's still a chance, however small it may be, that you'll get it. So I think that's been my main thing. Like there's always a chance.
So you both applied to the foundation. Tell us about the streams and I guess that process of it, because I've had some of the other interns tell me about it, but I'd love to know, you know, you both studied very different subjects. What did you then think, actually, I'm going to pursue this, this, and this? What were those streams? And I guess what made you gravitate towards them? Nefo, do you want to go first?
Yeah. So my streams were HR, so human resources, operations, and recruitment and executive search.
But you studied English.
Yes.
And you had no experience in those streams prior?
Yeah, no experience.
Okay.
No experience. I think I'm going to just be real, because I feel like a lot of people applying are probably going to do similar things to me.
Please be real.
You don't know what any of the streams are. You don't know. Like you're just scrolling. You're like, just give me an internship. And I like that, to be honest. I think that's good, because you go and you research. You go and say, okay, what is this? Even if you are using ChatGPT to tell you what it is, as long as you're using Google as well. But like you just go and you research and you go and see, okay, what are these streams? And I think even that alone, even if like maybe you apply and then you don't get it, at least you've had that moment where you were like, okay, oh, I could do that. So at least there's like a little idea in your head, like, oh, I could go into human resources. I could go into blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, you've broadened your horizon already just before you even started applying.
Exactly. And so, yeah, I applied to those streams because, to be honest, when you're an English student, there's no direct, like, path after except, like, oh, you're going to be a teacher. And it's just like, no.
Girl, I get it. I studied English too. I had no clue what I was going to do with it. So, yes.
I just didn't want to be a teacher. So, I figured out what I wanted to do, what streams I wanted to do based on, like, you know, researching. And then it kind of, obviously that research helped me write like the little paragraph that you were talking about like how, like why you're interested in this stream. And then I got one of those LinkedIn final bosses to look over my CV and just be like, does this look good? It didn't look good. I didn't know what a CV was supposed to look like. Get advice on what a CV should look like.
Wait, sorry. What's a LinkedIn final boss, actually?
Okay. I
thought I knew, but you've said it like a few times now.
Okay,
Like,
500 plus connections is the bare standard. They have 500
Really?
plus connections. They maybe have like 2,000 plus
and
followers.
To be honest, that personally irks me, like, because one thing that a lot of people
final boss.
Are you?
A little bit.
I'm not even, like, I don't even have 500 connections, but that's one thing I don't like, because I think a lot of young people, they're starting to just like, they're not
Connect
using
for the sake of it.
Yeah, they're not using it properly. They're just like, oh, connect. Do I have 500 yet? Do I have 500 yet? Yeah. And it's just like the employer isn't going, okay, is that 490?
No.
Like they're not doing that. And I think when you you oversaturate it, and then like it's like LinkedIn is supposed to be about who knows who. Like if people are looking you up and they're like, oh, they know that person. It's like, no, you guys were just doing like the equivalent of Snapchat quick ad, but on LinkedIn instead.
Right.
And I just think that's just not what it was for. This is not about
No,
popularity.
it is a bubble, but the one thing that I think LinkedIn is really good at, if you're like a student, for example, and you're interested in a company or type of career, and it's like you have nobody around you who
That's
did it. LinkedIn is so useful because you can, for me, like even how I started to build my network is look at, okay, from my college, who in my college is doing something I'm interested in. I connect with them, and then you can also connect with someone else they know. So I feel like for lots of young people who kind of don't have that cultural capital or like that access to like working professionals in like law or like medicine, I would say LinkedIn is very, very useful to kind of bridge that gap and even the playing field. Because, for example, you can have a kid, maybe their dad knows so-and-so, but you can also try to know so-and-so through having a mutual connection. So that's how I kind of used it. And I would say it's definitely helped in terms of like, you know, getting people to read over my applications. If I was interested in a particular program or like an internship. So when I was doing my internship, using LinkedIn to say, okay, who did it before? How was the experience? What
Just doing your homework, right?
Yes,
doing the
I think,
research.
I think it evens the playing field if you use it correctly.
Yes.
But I would say there's definitely, and it's like LinkedIn boss, we also have this thing of like canary wolf black people.
Canary wolf,
black
people.
with the quarter zip.
Yeah, with the quarter zip, which I'm yeah.
I have never heard of canary wolf black people. Educate me.
It's basically like if you have the LinkedIn final boss, it's like it's like how do you even
That's
describe
where
it?
that's where they go to work. Like
They evolve.
That's the LinkedIn final boss then gets a job and it's
a canary wolf.
Yes.
And
they become
a canary wolf black. And it sounds really like
so
really
funny.
crazy saying it, but it's like, for example, but you need those people to help us people who are like the lower in the food chain or the corporate food chain of like, you know, to get a way up, or like to learn the ropes. Because I feel like you probably experienced it for your internship, is that there's more to an internship than doing the work. It's also like the politics of like navigating relationships, coffee chats and like all of that stuff. And it's like, you need people to kind of like show you the ropes. So I even had someone saying, oh, Sarah, like don't send emails like that and stuff like that. And it's like, I needed to know this information. But
how are you meant to know otherwise? Sarah, I want to come back to something that you said before around cultural capital. Can you explain to our listeners and viewers what exactly you mean by that and what that is?
Yeah, so it's a sociological concept. Like I learned it in A levels, but it's like it was my lived experience throughout all of my life of like, you go into an institution and it's like there's certain informal, like kind of like not tangible ways of like these hidden rules and like formats and procedures that take place in an organization or system that's like some people know and then some people don't know. So for example, like let's say you're going into like a really posh workplace and people have like a certain interest, like everyone's in, I'm using this as an example, I love Formula One, but let's say like lots of people that are into Formula One or they're into like Love Island, and you're someone like you don't have a TV at home or like you don't even know anything about Love Island.
Wow, yeah.
So it's like it's kind of those informal rules that kind of govern the workspace, or like those interests that can kind of help you be seen as like one of them. So like something I find, this is not really cultural capital, but I didn't watch Love Island, like I don't watch Love Island, but it's like whenever you went into like a workplace, everyone's talking about, oh, what happened on Saturday? Like, I'm like, bruh, I don't know, like I don't watch at home, like I'm watching anime or like I just smile and nod. So it's like things like that. But I can say an example be like, for example, sports, like some sports that are very like hard to get into or not accessible. Something like Formula One, but I love Formula One. But some
like
stuff,
golf or
cricket. Golf, cricket. Okay. I don't know. I'm trying to horse
or anything to do with the horse.
Horse. So it's like kind of those informal like things are kind of out of place for someone who's like, you can work as hard, but it's like you still won't be seen as like one of them. Or we had this thing in university ski trips. People who were going on skiing on holiday.
We have the boat club.
Yeah, well, you have boat club. Wow. We had the ski trip issue of it. Used to be like, oh, when someone say, oh, they go ski with your family, you're like, okay.
You kind of have an idea.
Like, you have an idea that you are higher socioeconomic like individual, but yeah.
Yeah. How did you guys find your internships then, moving on from like university, but I guess keeping the concept of cultural capital in mind? You guys both did kind of 6 to 8 week internships through the foundation. What was it like moving in those spaces? Nefo, you're laughing. Then we're going to start with you.
Let's go.
It was interesting. Like I knew what it would be like. I knew what it would be like. So I kind of
wait. What did you do first of all?
I interned in financial headhunting.
Okay. And you knew what that would be like.
I knew what the work culture would be like, because I had my boss invited me to the office, one for like the final round of the interview and another time for a like little coffee chat thing. So I'd been to the office, I'd like, you know, been listening, been doing all that stuff. So I felt the vibe already. So I kind of figured, I was kind of like a spy undercover. Like I just assimilated. Yeah. But obviously that kind of, I had to, what's it called? Like I had to consciously like assimilate, if that makes sense. Yeah. I had to code switch, basically. Okay. Yeah.
Tell me a bit about that code switching. What does that look like, or what does that mean for you to code switch as a Black Nigerian woman? Turning off
the slang, like the slang. I'm from Southeast London. I had to turn that right off, like all the slang off, all of it off. One time I accidentally said like, not gonna lie. And then people were like, wait,
took
what?
It quite literally.
Yeah, they're like, wait, what? They're like, just don't lie. And I was like, okay. I was like, yeah, okay. So I was like, ooh, I forgot to turn it off. Okay. But I think it wasn't that difficult for me. It wasn't like, I didn't completely lose like who I was in if that makes sense. Like when you code switch, you don't need to just become a whole different human being. You know, just for me, it was just like turning off the slang. And I do English literature, so me and my boss, we both have a love for Chaucer. So just turning that on a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, that's the cultural capital thing, right?
Yeah.
Just in a way, it's like you realize that there's something someone has an interest in, and you like tap into that if that's accessible to you.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that it was probably easier for me to code switch though, because I had those little bits of cultural capital that I could use to kind of be like, yeah. For example, 2 seats down from me was like one of the employees, and he did classics at university and I studied classics at A level. So it was kind of like that
Mutual ground.
And even that subject is quite like, it's a bit of a
niche.
Like a niche, like upper, like a weird one that not many people are going to be studying at school. Not many schools will have it. So I guess like Sarah said, that is, I think I had a couple bits of knowledge in my pocket, to kind of help me with the assimilation. But I do understand that that's probably not the case for everyone. But one thing I will say is just no matter what, just continue to be yourself. I think the basis of code switching, just turn off the slang and you're pretty much good.
Sarah, Nefo said that she knew what to expect when she went into these places, partly because, you'd had a little kind of tourist before. Was it the same for you? Firstly, where did you intern? And was it the same for you in terms of you had an understanding or an idea of what to expect?
Yeah, so I interned at Farrow & Co, which is a law firm. And lucky enough, it was actually on the same road as my university. So I'd kind of walked past some people. And then in terms of like law firm culture, like I had already, spoken to people about their experience in terms of like being very corporate, being very client focused, and like being very on job. So like with law and some other corporate professions, you have like billable hours. So it's like there's an element of like time crunch, doing things on time, not wasting time. So I kind of already had an expectation of like what the workplace would be like in terms of very high paced, high pressure and things like that.
Because of the nature of law.
Yeah, because of the nature of law. But I would say like one thing that like is hard to prepare for is just how you feel emotionally in those spaces. So obviously for me, like I wear the niqab, and like with the political climate of the UK of like, people probably know what I'm talking about. It's been like very hard emotionally to feel confident in myself, or to feel like, oh, underneath like all of this, I'm just a person. And, funny enough, I have some interest to do in English literature. So I'm a big reader. I love Count of Monte Cristo, love Wuthering Heights. Like I love Brian, like reading the poems and stuff. So that's something that's been allowed me, and then Formula One and football. So it's been something that's allowed me to transcend kind of the expectations people have of me and be able to connect to people. And then I'm an economics girly as well. So like reading the market, like I studied international relations. So I had to like know about macroeconomics. So also talking to people about my interest in that, and like, reading the FT. I don't have a subscription, but my university paid for students to have one. So I feel like that kind of helped bridge the gap. But I would say still like there's this element of like showing up every single day, which takes a lot of energy. And as you said, you have to consciously assimilate. It'll be like, okay, my natural reaction is to like respond to this. Not to say that I use the term skeen, but sometimes I like unironically I say skeen, and it'll be like, oh, you can't say that in law. Like, first of all, even if
Can I
people
just
know
say,
slang,
some of our viewers or listeners might not even know what skeen is.
I'm too young for skeen.
So
I'm
old,
like 22,
I'm 22. Skeen, I was like, yo,
no. No, it'll be like there's some slang, or like when you just have like memes of like, I'm trying to think of like like UK stan Twitter memes of like come on, you can think of one,
bro. I feel like for me it's more like TikTok, like brain rot. Like, like random, like...
Skibbity. Not skibbity.
No. I'm trying to think, why are they, like... I don't know, like, just random TikTok audios, like, just, like, something where, like, your friends would get it because they're all on TikTok.
Fine.
And then they would all laugh. But
a lot of your colleagues or peers at these internship workplaces
it was like streaming. I was talking to someone about like Twitch and streaming and stuff like that, and like there's this particular streamer that I watch, and they were like, oh, what is Twitch? Because I had said, oh, I get some of my news from watching Twitch. They're like, what is Twitch? And I said, oh, it's streaming, like you have political commentators, I watch that and stuff like that. So I feel like sometimes it's like, as you said, you have to consciously remind yourself that these are people, they've had very, very different experiences to you, like very different lifestyles, and like obviously you have things that connect the dots, but there's always going to be like a bit of you that, how people like bring yourself to work, there's always going to be a bit of you that you can't bring because like nobody's going to relate to at all, or like very few people relate to. You might as well just leave it at home and like keep it safe there and like
you don't think there's any place for that part of you that you're telling people to leave at home, do you think we're living in a world, because we've got organizations like the foundation, where it is possible to ever so slowly perhaps bring that part of you that you kept at home to work? Or do you still think actually when it comes to being the most professional version of yourself, or making a good first impression with people who are so different or maybe feel so different, it's actually best to just put forward this newer, different version of yourself and keep that at the side of you at home regardless?
I don't think it's like an artificial thing, like even with code switching, because obviously even within like slang, it's like the way that you talk to like your parents or the way you talk to like a distant friend is different on how you talk to someone who's close.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's necessarily artificial, and I don't think I feel like nobody can fully bring them, well, maybe some people because of cultural capital, but I feel like it's also safeguarding your own mental health, because let's say you're someone, who's a minority, you bring everything you have into like your work and your role. I feel like sometimes it can be quite negative, because it's like you can deal with the emotional repercussions of people don't get that, they don't understand, you feel a bit isolated. So I feel like being realistic is kind of a double whammy. Like with my 10K like Black Interns cohort, I did find like when it was just us, I could kind of like, yap all day, like
relax a bit more.
Yeah, relax. I can be like a bit silly and whatnot. But obviously when you're in a professional environment, especially when you're navigating cultural capital, there's always going to be aspects of yourself that it's not necessarily you can't bring, but also like safeguarding your own mental health that maybe you just want to keep for your family, or maybe you just want to keep for your friends. I don't know if you like felt that way.
I had a different experience because you said that with your cohort you could like chill and you can relax.
My cohort was 4, only 2 legal interns.
My cohort was me.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And I think I've done that was like my 3rd internship / work experience / corporate office type experience. And I think my 2nd one, I had like one other person. So it's always been pretty much like, I don't have anyone to kind of like rub off of, like
bounce off of,
bounce off of, like kiki. Like no one to kiki with. So I think it took a lot of energy out of me just to be like, just to remember like, okay, like, because you kind of have to keep a guard up, but at the same time, it's not forever. So I think my internship was 6 weeks. I think if it was like 10, they surely would have seen, like, I would have started bringing some stuff, like some stuff out of me. Like in the last week, it was like, okay, like, when you fully assess, like you scope the scenery out, and like now you're like, okay, now I know how much of me I can bring.
Yeah.
And so I think if I was to now enter like a permanent role in a workplace, it would be like, first couple of weeks, you got to scope the scenery out. Okay, what can I, like, what parts of me can I still bring out where it's like, I'm like safeguarding myself, like you said, but then also like the keeping the professionalism thing, like what jokes will fly.
Well received.
Yeah.
Like a canary wolf black joke in there.
Exactly.
They'll just be like HR.
Exactly. They'll like HR will get you.
So let me ask you then, guys, about assimilation, because you've both brought up some really good points. I guess what I want to know is how did it feel, and what was the thought process behind you guys waking up every morning and at times feeling like you maybe had to psych yourself up because you were going into a law firm wearing a niqab, and I think I can confidently make an assumption that no other interns had done that before.
No interns. Somebody told me that no employees.
Fine.
No one has worked through the office like with that. Yeah.
So you're very much
crazy.
the first. And Nefo, you're also a Black woman working in a space that is new to you. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is kind of the thoughts or the conversations that you would have with yourself, maybe on those good days, but also maybe on those not so good days.
Yeah, I mean, for me, when I had not so good days, I just reminded myself like how much work I've done to be at this place that I am now. Like in terms of like, this didn't start at university. This started in like primary school. This started in like when I was doing my GCSEs, and just like even people, like they just look at you and they might think, oh, you're a token. You're here because you're from 10K Black Interns. But it's like they don't understand like my story and like what I did to get here and how hard I worked. Like I remember crying before my physics exam for GCSE and being so stressed about it, and then to end up getting like the highest grades and everything. So I feel like I just remind myself that it's been a journey, and this is one stop on the way to like hopefully, a career or a job that I love and I enjoy. And another thing I remind myself is that negative like pushback you feel when you're going through those spaces, there's a reason why. Like historically, you've been left out, you've been excluded. People like you, they haven't had this opportunity to even get through the door. So the fact that my door's just my foot is like open a little bit, I can kind of peek in to kind of see what it's like. I still remind myself of like my privilege. And then I feel like another important thing for me, like studying international relations, like when you look at the world and you understand, of course there's the 1% in the UK, but in terms of globally, whether you like it or not, you're even part of the 1% of like, you have clean water, you have like a house, you have like the fact that I went to university, that I was able to get a student loan to go to university anyway and get access to all of those things. So I just remind myself that they don't know the journey I took to get here. And then in the macro view of like what is going on in the world, like obviously like universities being bombed, like people don't even have the opportunity that I have to also go to like a prestigious law firm, you know, have meal tokens and things like that. So that kind of helps me.
Hey?
Yeah, so I feel like taking perspective of like realizing your own journey, reminding yourself there's not that many Black people even go to university first of all, and then reminding yourself that in the world you are actually very privileged in comparison to our other like Black and brown peers and like the global South and what they're going through and the access to opportunities that they have as well. So yeah.
What about you, Nefo? What were kind of those thoughts and conversations you were having with yourself?
I think I had similar thoughts of like, I'm paving the way for like Black men and women to come after me and to like feel comfortable in these spaces. You know, there always has to be like a pioneer. But also I think I second guessed myself a lot, particularly when it came to my appearance. My hair's done now, but I had to make a decision. I was like, my hair was like in like its, you know, 4C Afro state. And I was like,
beautiful state.
Yeah, the best
very
state.
Beautiful
Yeah,
state, the
yeah,
best
clock
state,
it, clock it.
Yeah.
But I was like, the weeks were coming up towards my internship and I was like, ooh, like time's going. Like if I'm going to get my hair done, I'm going to need to get it done quickly.
So you were considering getting it done, especially because the internship was coming up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Like if I didn't have an internship, I would have just been chilling the whole
And
summer.
define getting it done, like what styles in particular were you thinking of, if any?
I was just going to get that.
Okay.
Or like, actually no, I wasn't gonna do a wig. That was gonna be too much effort. Nah. But yeah, the point is I was just gonna get it done so it just stayed like quote unquote like neat, so it wasn't like blocking anyone's view, because I've been told that before. And just things like that. I just didn't want anyone, oh cool, like, you know, I just didn't want that kind of like attention and things like that.
It's like one less thing to worry about. Obviously I wouldn't know, but I don't have experience, but I mean like I can understand like
so I made a decision. I was like, you know what, this is who I am, like this is me. I want to have my hair out, because I had to just sit down and ask myself, do I want my hair out right now? And I was like, yes. Like if I wasn't doing an internship, would I want my hair out right now? And I was like, yeah, so
that's it.
So I was like, so just carry on living your life.
Yeah.
And there was one day in particular, like in your question where you talked about like the bad days. There was one day, like the mental bad days. There was one day where I wore my hair out in like a full afro. Normally I would just like put it in like a puff or like tie it back, but I wore it out full and I was just anxious the whole day. Like not even because of anyone's like comments or anyone's like stares or whatever, but I was just like, I feel abnormal. Like I was just like, why did I do it? Like it looked good in the morning, and then as you're going on like public transport, you're like, oh, like I actually did that. And you know, you'd see like a glance and you'd be like people obviously are like, ooh, you know. But it just felt so like alien. I was like, guys, this is just my hair. And that was I just kind of had to like psych myself up, like, this is your hair. You're allowed to have your hair like this in the workplace. Like no one's pulling you up on your hair. Yeah. Your hair is amazing. Your hair's actually really cool. Like I was just in the bathroom like, yeah, your hair's actually really cool. Like I had to like pep talk myself. Yeah. And I think I knew it would feel that difficult, but I did it anyway because, well, you never know until you try, number one. And the first time you do it is scary. After that, it's not so scary. So I just kind of call it exposure therapy. Just go out and just do it. But I do feel like we shouldn't have to feel that way. But
and
it's just a fact.
You know what you said about crusading? I think for me, again, like from the Muslim perspective, it's like it's not that I want to like change the world and show that Muslims are just like, you know, as normal people, which people should just know. But I think it's also important for me to like also say that like I'm a Muslim woman, like I'm just as competent, I'm just as smart, and like people not viewing me as like some like thing that's just far away from them. Because I feel like when it comes to like different minority groups and like, you know, as time has progressed, it's like it's people just realizing they're just people like yourself. So I feel like for me, one thing I hoped in my internship is like also to all of the senior people who not saying that they might have had like negative views about Black people, like Muslim people, like veiled women, but people who might have had like a view of like, oh, this, like, you know, they don't want to work, they just want to become like housewives and stay at home, or like all of them are like this, to show them that no, like every person from every group, we all come in like different colors, different like views, different backgrounds and different things. And just as you're a person, you're just as like brilliant as and unique. I'm also a person who's like uniquely brilliant and unique and has my own things. Like just because I might look a certain way doesn't necessarily dictate X, Y, and Z about me. But also, you know, there can be V, I don't know, Q, R, S, T, whatever. So I feel like that's also important. And it's sad that we have to do the work.
I was just going to say, it's really sad that we have to have this kind of a mindset going in every day of like, I'm valid, I'm worth, like, it's so hard to have to just keep having to psych yourself up like that.
Yeah.
But one day I hope that like when, like, I don't know, our grandchildren or when we have children, like they won't have this like issue that we have, or feel as if they have to crusade for like representation or to be respected, or like that, you know, when you said that you have to psych yourself in the bathroom, like I would in the morning go like come to the workplace very early and I'd go to the bathroom and I would like do my affirmations and remind myself, because if I'm walking through the corridors, like, okay, maybe I'll see like a hijabi woman, but obviously there was no one who looked like me, and sometimes sometimes you can feel like, oh, you don't deserve to be here because you're on the program. People might think that you're here because you're Black, but no, because it's also competitive as well. So I also had to take moments to myself and like remind myself that no, like you know, as I said before, you've been on such a long journey. You deserve to be here. You're just as smart. You're just as competent. And like, just because I might like present myself in a certain way doesn't necessarily mean X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So
thank you guys for being so honest and open about it. I think there's always the professional element to assimilating into a workspace, and then there's always a personal element as well. You spoke about things that you expected from these workplaces. Can you talk to me a bit about things that maybe you didn't expect? Things that maybe challenged your assumptions about these workspaces?
Yeah, for me, it's that they're really, like, sometimes you think that, like, there's no lovely people, everyone's mean and everyone's corporate. But my supervisors, like, that I had, and, like, the EDI team and some of the teams I've met were absolutely, like, I was literally so shocked. I told my mum that, like, Mum, like, I just feel like a person. Like sometimes I even forgot that I was like this niqabi, like Black woman. I was like, I just felt so normal. Like you have interactions with people and you even forget about all of this like burden and load that you're carrying. So like, as you said before, like, of course we have the crusade element that you have to go in every day. But I think it showed me that no, there are pockets, even within organizations, there are people who can create spaces or create safe spaces for you that you literally go home and you're like, you had a wonderful day at work, you talk to some people and you just feel normal. So I think it's the idea that like not everywhere in this corporate, like, I don't know, it's like a dungeon or like you feel like scared and safe, that no, there actually are pockets of safe spaces, which,
I think for me, like one thing that I didn't expect is just, I think it's just kind of realizing that like, this is going to sound really weird, but it's just realizing that we all have lives. Like, I don't know, like no one's out to like, no one's gonna like purposely like, what's it called? I'm trying to think of the
sabotage.
word. Yeah, no one's out to get you kind of thing. I feel like because we're constantly having to like psych ourselves up, you're kind of on like a fight or flight, like
tunnel vision.
Yeah, like, but then you realize, but then you realize that like people are actually quite lovely, and another thing, people are quite chill because.
In corporate?
Yeah.
That was surprising.
Like when they get into the office, everyone's chill. Like the heels come off, everyone gets the flip-flops back out from under their desks, and you're just like, oh, okay. Like, can I bring my slippers too? Like, or am I not allowed to do that because I'm an intern? Like stuff like that. And it just kind of, it humanizes the corporate world. It humanizes the office, because I feel like, especially in our generation, like on TikTok, everyone's just like, oh, when you go corporate, blah blah blah. Like, oh, you gotta get the quarter zips, gotta get all of that. Like basically. Like
there's like an attire, there's like an expectation of change.
Yeah, they're like, oh, like you'll change everything. Like people bring cushions, people bring blankets. Someone told me a story that someone brought a portable heater and then they got told to take it away because it was a hazard, like in like the winter.
It's a hazard and it's also impacting the bills, probably.
Yeah. If they put it under their chair, then they were just like, they just put their feet next to it and they were just typing. Mm-hmm. And I just you just realize that like, it kind of reminds me of like, with working from home and how like they'll be like all corporate from the top and then they're just wearing like pajamas. Yeah. And I was like, people are like bringing that like to the office and I didn't expect that. And it just made me think like they're human. Like they don't just live at their desk. Do you know what I mean? Like we're all just humans just trying to make a living in this capitalist world.
Yeah.
So I think that made me like relax a lot more. Like no one is going to be like watching you, waiting for you to like mess up or anything like that. So I think that was one thing I didn't expect, but was pleasantly surprised by.
Really nice. Let's move on to the foundation and kind of the role the foundation has played in your guys' careers so far. So how would you say 10K has helped you prepared for the pathway that you guys have experienced? We've talked about cultural capital. We've talked about palatability. How has the foundation helped you prepare for this new kind of corporate world that you guys have now had access to?
I feel like one thing that's maybe not talked about enough, but is something that's really important is the community aspect of like the alumni that they've helped created. Because I think, as we both said, it was like people above us who even told us about this program. And I feel like that positive feedback loop of it creates like a group of Black students who also want to help other Black students and we all want to see each other succeed. So like the WhatsApp group, like during the summer, like I absolutely loved it. It would be like somebody got nominated for an award. Everyone's like, we're going to vote for you, don't worry.
So that's like an alumni WhatsApp group?
No, the alumni group, current one. Yeah, the current one. Yeah, for the current one.
Or
like, for example, like everyone knows like, okay, LinkedIn Final Warrior. Somebody will post like, oh, my high network post. And people are like, oh, I don't know you, but like, I'm going to comment, I'm going to like, I'm going to reshare. So I feel like that community of like Black students who don't have like, I would say that it's not as like, there's some other communities that I think are very toxic and very like zero sum. I'll say what makes 10K Black interns very different is that it's not as if like, we both can't eat, like we can both eat. Like it's not this mindset of like, I'm applying for something, I'm not going to tell you.
But you're being pitted against you.
But there's some organizations that some of the way that they make themselves out is like, no, they create like a very toxic gatekeeping culture of like, people don't want to help everyone or nobody wants to help or like you don't really build that community of that family. But I would say with 10K Black interns, like the best thing I've gotten out of it is like that community with other Black students who like just want me to succeed. And like they're just looking out for me and they're like, no, like you've got this. And it's like, yeah, thank you, you've got this as well. And like it's just something that you like the actual real connections you make with people, I feel like absolutely invaluable and they're so like important to keep you grounded. Yeah. And then the other part of it as well as the family is just like knowing that like you can actually do it. Because it's like, for example, as I said before, the doctor, engineer, like law triad, I didn't want to do it initially, but after going into university, it's like, okay, this is something I kind of want to see. I kind of want to see if I'm good at. I'm not sure, but I kind of want to try. And it's like, if 10K Black interns being there kind of gave me that opportunity to give me that choice to see, okay, maybe this is something that I'm interested in doing, but let me actually do it and see if I like it. But it's like, if I had to apply to a lot of the other things, like, I don't know, some of the other routes, they like open days and things like that, like maybe I would have been like, I don't want to go. Especially because lots of open days, you have canapes and drinks and it's like, I kind of try to stay away from things like that. So I feel like 10K Black interns is really accessible of like people who they kind of can see themselves doing something. They're not sure how to get there, but it's just like an arrow straight to get to experience.
And you mentioned before, Sarah, like the political climate in this country is kind of feels like it's shifting at the moment.
Yeah.
Why, in your own words, for both of you, do you think it's so important that an organisation like 10K exists?
Yeah, do you want to go?
I think it's important that it exists because it helps people like us, people from our backgrounds, kind of find our feet in this world. I think going back to everything that Sarah mentioned before, like the cultural capital, all of that stuff. In a world like this, you can't. It's just really, really hard to get your foot in. It's really, really hard, especially now with the economical state of the world. Market. I don't mean to sound like Jaden Smith, political and economical state of the world, but with the political and economical state of the world, it's the job market. Everyone's so pessimistic. Oh, you're not going to get employed. So then when stuff,
More people
AI's taking all the jobs.
Yeah, and more people are going to uni, but it doesn't mean that they're actually getting jobs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that with all of that just being like a cloud over your head, plus you've now got this whole cultural capital thing, and that girl over there, she does horse riding, so she's gonna get along with everyone, but you're not. You have that kind of thing as well. But like 10K, I think the best thing that 10K has done for me personally with that kind of a backdrop is like finding my feet, and also being able to use like all the things that we've kind of been told. I don't know if like, back when you were like in school, like the whole like the career talks and everything. I don't know if you ever had like a LinkedIn, like any talks or anything like that in school where they would say like, oh, make an account. Did you ever?
Yeah, we did.
But like they wouldn't really say much about like
not being real. They just say like a shallow point. So
yeah. But then it's kind of really made me think about like, oh, like how is LinkedIn actually used? And it's helped me do all of that. When they would always say stuff like, oh, like ask people for a coffee, and then I'd be like, yeah, right, like they're not gonna. Why would they?
It feels very like far-fetched.
They're like, oh, just message someone, and I'm like, I'm 18. No one's going for a coffee with me in their lunch. But this time I've realized people are going for a coffee with you in their lunch. Yeah. I think you just kind of have to. I think 10K, like the experience has just taught me that like, if I like just go for it, if I just like sell myself, like, hey, I'm really interested in this, could we maybe meet up for this, like. And it actually works, and you actually do make meaningful connections, and you are actually able to talk to employers, and they are actually interested in what you have to say. And like I even got messaged the other day by somebody, and it was like, oh, like you actually are interested in. They were like, oh, I see you've had experience in this. Yeah. Let's meet for a chat. And it's like, oh, so people
see, people are watching.
Like people are looking. I find this so funny because I literally interned in headhunting, where we literally go on LinkedIn and do this. So I don't know why. I just never thought it would happen to me. Yeah. But yes, I think one of the best things was it just kind of like it raised the ceiling that I'd placed on myself in like the best way. Like I never thought that it would be possible for me to like cold message people on LinkedIn like, hi, I'm really interested in, I see you work here. Oh, we also went to the same university. Would you mind having and you refine your corporate lingo, should I say.
Yeah. No, I would say for me, like obviously seeing what's happening in America and like how D&I, all of these things is being shut down. I don't know if you've experienced this as well, but it's kind of this whiplash of like we went from like George Floyd and everyone caring about these things and like reflecting on like what Black and brown people, what marginalized people have gone through. And it's like, okay, that was like when I was a young teenager, and it's now I'm getting old and you see what's happening. And then, I don't know, I've seen like the media landscape even change of like, they're not caring about this thing, like wokeism and stuff. And for me, it's given me a bit of whiplash of like, okay, like what's going on and like who really cares? But I would say that 10K Black Interns is really important to be that cornerstone of like, no, this is something that extremely matters, because especially now when everyone has a university degree, it's like what makes you different is actually having that experience. And as I said before, there's some like work experience in which it's like a prerequisite to have work experience, or it's like, for example, entry-level job but you needed 5 years of work experience. But it's like what 10K Black Interns is doing, especially for Black students, right, who would need this, is like they're cutting that step to allow you to actually get those solid weeks of like law, I don't know, if people are in the finance, the Canary Wharf, accounting, all of those things, to get that experience in to even the playing field. So I would say like 10K Black Interns is very, very important, not just in terms of like a cultural statement of saying, okay, this whiplash and this turning back we're seeing from like the States with DNI and EDNI and all of these things, like we're ignoring it, we're doing our own thing, but also because it does have a material effect on people's lives, not just in terms of getting the experience, but also in terms of how they view themselves. Like when I started my internship to like how I look at myself now is very different. I didn't think it was something I could excel in. I thought it would be like, oh, I just get the work done, don't really make a difference. But actually having feedback from like senior lawyers was like, no, like, for example, they could see me become partner. Not that it's something I want to do, but it's the fact that people can see that potential in you. I feel like it does a lot in terms of like, as you said, raising the ceiling for yourself of like what you initially thought you could do and like what you could be. And I think it's made me definitely more bold, definitely more like, there's a word I'm trying to look for, but...
empowered, confident.
No, not empowered or confident, but it's made me more like, I don't know, like this sense of like, I know that like
Like assured.
Like assured, or like it's made me
Secure?
more secure. It's made me like more confident, not like in myself, of like, okay, if I see this thing, if I work, I can do it. Or not even that I can do it, I can be good at it, I can excel in it.
Amazing. Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you guys. I've had so much fun, and thank you for being part of the foundation. If you have enjoyed this episode or any of the episodes in the series so far, you can head over to the 10,000 Interns website. That is www.10,000internsfoundation.com. You can also follow the foundation on Instagram and on LinkedIn and on all of the other social media platforms. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you next time. Bye.